keeping us alive now. You forget about that one. And you keep them coming in. You're doing well, son.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
I want to make it clear that the views expressed by our hosts are not considered the official stance of MBR Views. Remember, this is all about having fun and enjoying the ride.
Everyone's expecting. If you know that well, you know. Do as I say, not as I do. Welcome, friends, you know. Unity in all that.
Hey, welcome everybody to Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room, man. It is that time for our Friday show. So everybody knows this show is brought to you by Operation Encore. Operation Encore is a 501c nonprofit. They helped us get the radio station going, and they're out there helping veterans transition from the military and becoming rock stars, man. So you can check them out at operationencore.org. And you can check out Gunroom Radio. Here's a quick taste of what Gunroom Radio is all about.
You are not alone. There are so many. It's a mortar attack. Smaller fire and RPGs. We don't. He was sitting in the shadows with a gun in his hand and a lifetime of... I know you can remember when all the shows turned off at 12 a.m.
All right, man. So I'm excited to do this show today, man. And I'm going to tell you why. So normally I have a guest on here, and I've been looking for an opportunity to talk about something that has been kind of on my mind for a while. So I know everybody's like, what the hell? Where's the damn guy you're talking to? Well, today it's me, man. I've been doing a lot of talking to myself. And the topic I want to talk about is thinking for yourself, right? We have lived in a society that is all about little research, the quick answer, and the conclusion, and they move on. And that is one of the reasons why my mainstream media that I listen to now is podcasts, because it takes out all that noise, and I get to decide for myself whether that person is full of shit or whether that person is telling the truth, regardless of what show you're listening to include mine, right? You may think I'm full of shit, but that's fine. All right. The one thing that this show's not about is about politics. I don't care, red, green, blue, whatever organization, whatever your political views are, none of that stuff matters to me, right? I care about veterans, and I care about our military, and I care about what's going to happen to them and where they're going to go, right? And I came across this podcast. I've been listening to it for a while. It's called The Sean Ryan Show. I'm sure a lot of people's heard it. He gets, one or two more views than me, but 1 or 2 million, but that's okay. He had a guest on his show a while back. His name was Tyler Vargas Andrews. Okay. He was a Marine. He lost his left leg and right arm due to that bombing that went off as we were trying to pull out. Right now keep in mind, this is not a political argument. I don't care about from the top all the way up. What I do care about is the leadership that is in our military, the ones that are on ground doing the right thing for their soldiers, regardless of what the consequences are. Okay. So I got a few clips from his podcast that I want you guys to hear, because everybody remembers when that bombing took place and the 13 service members lost their lives, right? There's a lot of things that happened that was not put in the news. There was a lot of things that happened on ground to our military service members that was not put out to the public. And when I came across this, and you can look and determine for yourself whether you think this is true or not, but we're gonna show a couple episodes or a couple minutes of these, and I just want you to kind of get a flavor for what really happened, because we can all blame the upper government, but it went way deeper than that. So let me pull it up here. Let me get the old screen going. Here, we'll make myself just smaller. We'll go this way. There we go. All right, man. So here's the first clip, man. Here we go. Hold on, wrong one. Sorry. 246, 232. Let me change the screen real quick. That's the wrong one. Do. There we go. All right.
Civilian side of the terminals on the airfield. And so we go out there that next morning, didn't have any rides or anything. So we're trying to just, guys are stealing cars and literally guys were driving around with like the luggage vehicles that like put the belts onto the plane because they needed rides around the airport and stuff. We didn't have any UTVs to rely on or anything like that. And it was quite a ways away. So we were like, fuck, we got a lot of shit. We'll hump it if we have to, but let's try and source some vehicles. So we had someone with a Gator pick us up, got taken out there to this radar site with a satellite, and 1-8 had a sniper team up there already in like a small hide, and so we went up there, swapped out with them, and they were kind of updating us, just saying they were seeing people firing off rounds, like Taliban firing off rounds in the terminal, and talking on phones and stuff. But I mean, everyone out there now has phones, so you know, it is what it is. But we got up there, ripped out with them, and then guys started setting up more of a perimeter around the airport, literally just like almost entrenching along the airfield. And we observed the Taliban for that whole day, maybe a little bit into the next day. And
what were they doing?
Some of them were executing people in the civilian terminals on the far side. A couple of our guys had got, not our team, but a couple of the guys from Echo Company had gotten shot at. And at the time, it was like, if you get shot at, shoot back. Like that's what the ROEs, what we were told. And then those ROEs just started.
Okay, so real quick, that was a very popular, very important part that he said. Okay, we all know about ROEs if you were anywhere around the military, and I'm mostly talking to veterans right now. Your rules of engagement are one of the most important parts that you have to understand, right? When you get there, there's a saying, right? I'd rather be judged by 6 than, or judged by 12 than carried by 6. And the reason why that is important is because the Taliban and the other guys don't go by no ROEs. So you can't just shoot somebody based off the ROEs just because they got an AK. I mean, every farmer in the world's got one over there. So until you get a hostile act on yourself, you can't shoot back, right? So at this moment, the rules of engagement for them were to shoot if shoot upon, okay? And the reason why that is important is because they drastically changed. All right. And this is another reason why I say I don't want to get into the decision process of the upper echelon. These are all ground commander decisions. The ROEs, the format that the war takes on all comes down from your ground commander. And that's why it's important. So let's go a little bit further.
Just dropping, going to the wayside. They were like, all right, don't do anything.
Don't do anything.
Unless you're like getting shot at or you see someone's life threatened, like don't shoot. And like specifically for us, because we're like,
So hold on.
yeah,
ROEs are
rules of
don't
engagement.
shoot unless you get shot at.
Yeah,
You're literally. You showed me videos of this.
yeah,
You're literally witnessing people get executed from all angles.
yeah.
And then they make the ROEs even more strict on you.
Yeah, they
Who's
go.
telling you this? Where's this shit coming from?
It was a mix.
What is the leadership saying
but
as they tell you
yeah,
this?
so it's like battalion and higher, and for us,
Right
we're like,
there.
okay, well, so
Battalion
obviously we're in a more
higher.
unique situation, being in a sniper team. You know, what are we doing if we perceive a threat? And so now we have to request permission to engage. If we see someone getting shot or executed, we have to make sure that they are like an American citizen or an ally. And like, how the fuck are we supposed to know that when they've got someone on their knees with a gun to their head? And so we're there.
Okay, so I got another clip here, but we're going to talk a little bit. So at the end of the day, right, you have to understand that now you're literally watching the enemy kill civilians. These men and women have had to witness dead children from being suffocated, stomped, and everything else. All right. He talks about in this about how he was literally begging for authorization to fire. All right. The man that you just seen could have single-handedly stopped those 13 soldiers, 150 plus injuries from happening. I don't have the whole thing that I'm going to show because it's literally a 5-hour podcast. But the thing that you have to understand is they were given the complete details of the person that had the bomb. They were given the exact locations where they were going, where they came from, who was with him, who the bomber was, the whole 9 yards. It came from informants out there in the public, you know, and the only decision that they did make right was the fact that they didn't want that informant to do anything to try to stop him because it would give up the intel, and that is crucial, and it sucks, but yes, that is what happened. So he's asked multiple times permission to fire, and it was denied. So let's get into this next part, and I will show you how piss poor our senior leadership failed. Hold on. Wrong one again. Too many screens.
I think
You should be fucking ashamed of yourself.
I think firsthand too. Like a lot of us have bled for a lot of those allies over there, but it's the same on their end. A lot of them have bled for us too, and I mean, we, those shipping containers were put up. I typically would stay up on nights because, I thought, all right, if they're going to do something, they're going to try something at night. If they're going to try and shoot us, attack us, blow us up, like they're going to do it at night. That's when I would do it. And so I stayed up almost every night from sundown to almost sunup. And at one point I got so fed up. I was counting bodies over the net. Like the Taliban have killed 2 people. The Taliban have murdered 3 people. They've executed 4, 5, 6. Like I got fed up and kept requesting engagement authority, letting them know, like, what are we doing about this? And just like, go about your job. That was what was passed down from the battalion or above the battalion. And I took 4 of our guys up to the Baron Hotel, like right next to the Taliban checkpoint to get some footage of like up close of like the bodies and what they were doing over there. And so we walked up to the Baron Hotel and there's just like this British version of a PFC or a private. And he's just like standing guard out front. And he's like, "What's your business here?" And I was just like, we got like a bunch of cameras and shit in our bags. And I was like, "It's classified." He's like, "Okay." Just like opens the door and it's like, all right, well, that worked. And so we go in there and it's like all of the British command. And I'm like, fuck, all right, just got to look like I know what I'm doing. Just like turned right, walked up on top of their Connex boxes there and set up the guys on security and started taking pictures from this tower. And I have pictures of this too, of me doing this. And started taking pictures of the piles of bodies that were on the ground, the guys lined up on their knees against the wall, the women lined up against on their knees against the wall and stuff with guns pointed at their head. And still the Biden administration would not allow you to save these fucking people. They're literally on their knees facing the wall, getting shot in the back of the fucking head.
So
one after another. And our president.
That is one thing, that's more of a, in my opinion, more of a personal statement. That authority can come from the ground commander. There's a general that trust me when I tell you, the ground commander, the one that is in charge of that theater, is the one that dictates the regulations on whether you can shoot or not. All right. What becomes a threat? Are we trying to gather intel? He dictates the whole mission. So, at no time would the president, regardless of what political views you're from, at no time would the president of the United States call and say, "Hey, all right, man, now I decided we're no longer going to shoot unless an AT-4 is shot at you, unless an RPG is shot at you, that's not never going to happen." All right. So remember that as leaders in the military, our sole purpose is to accomplish missions and look at the welfare of our soldiers. All right. I don't know about some of these other branches, but I can almost guarantee you that is what drives the NCO Corps from the Marines and the Army. All right. Take everybody over, bring everybody back. Don't leave nobody behind. Everything that has happened up to this point goes completely against any of the NCO creeds, any of our oaths that we took. All right. Part of our responsibility is to look after the civilian population as well. All right. Our intent is never to bring any more casualties into this than you absolutely have to. So let's keep going. Let's keep going just a little bit further.
And then is not going to allow you to fucking engage.
We turned that footage over to the Joint Operations Command and to our intel assets that night, and got given a new SD card. And we're like, all right, go back out to the gate. And that was that. So went back out. Nothing came of it. No one made any decisions on dealing with the Taliban executing people. And I mean, that was just finally the pinnacle of it. I mean, it had been going on for days prior, many, many days prior. And, you know, I mean, one memory of these, how desperate these people were to escape the Taliban is this lady. We had to send her back out of the gate, and I don't remember who did it, but some individuals were taking her back out of the gate, go back into the crowd, and she jumps, like leaps at the razor wire and starts trying to cut her throat with the razor wire. She was like, if you send me back, they're going to rape me. They're going to fucking torture me. Like, kill me. And like a couple Marines grabbed her and prevented her from killing herself. But I mean, that's how fucking bad it is there. Like, she was willing to just slit her fucking throat on razor wire. Can you imagine that? It's
Jesus.
It's not shit I ever could have made up, you know.
So the point of what I'm bringing up, right? And this applies to our lives in general. Not making a decision is worse than making a mistake. If you're still in the military, or if you're thinking about our troops, man, lead with some leadership. So 150 people total died that day. I believe it was 150. They counting the civilians and everything. When that IED went off and the bomber blew himself up, he was right up to the gate. All right. Like I said, I'm not going to play the whole video, but he talks about how the decision was to even remove the stuff preventing people from getting right up to the wall. At some point, the people were almost directly underneath where they were positioned at. He talks about a time where, and he doesn't have proof of this, but he was told that basically what happened is their battalion commander went out, met with the Taliban, who was 150 feet from their gate, and paid them off with an agreement. Here's some money. If you leave us alone and you allow us to bring these people that have documentation in, and you don't prevent us, we're going to leave and we're going to give you this money and we're not going to mess with you. And at that point, it became a free-for-all. They just literally started executing people. All right. So the press never covered that. All right. What you guys were seeing was from somebody that was on ground. He had video footage of it. He has bodily injuries from it. He was hit with over 100 and some ball bearings. Right. And what was he doing at the time that happened, by the way? What he was doing was somebody he did not know that was in the United States who had worked with an interpreter and was trying to get that interpreter to the gate so they could bring him in because he had the documentation and he was legal to come to the United States. So they asked him personally if he would meet him at the gate. He went, not personally. It was via apps over the phone. So he went and was standing there and found him. Found it was him and his brother. And as they were bringing him in, the guy said, "My family, I got to bring my family." And he asked him, he said, "You knew the rules. The rules were everybody comes together at one time." And he said, "Where are they at?" And he pointed, they were about 1,000, 1,500 yards away. So he stood there and waited with that interpreter to bring his family in as well. And that's when the bomber, who has been in his iron sights before, he called it into the battalion. The battalion commander came down and looked with his own eyes and agreed that person 100% positive ID the intel that they got as the bomber. The guy that was with him also fit the description of the guy that was with the bomber. So there's 2 positive IDs. The British that was there agreed. They ID'd him. So you got now 4 IDs, 4 different people that has had this guy in the sights and knew it was him. And the battalion commander stated this. He said, "Do I have permission to fire?" The battalion commander replied with, "I cannot make that decision." And he said, "Then who does, sir?" And the battalion commander's response was, "I don't know," and walked away. So if our upper leadership can't even think past any orders that was given him to save his own men and women, where is the leadership at? We're blaming the government. You know, I'm not saying they're not responsible, but at the end of the day, let's put the blame where the blame is. And that blame is on that leadership. And they should definitely answer for that. Because that is not the oath that we took. That is not leadership. And every single one of those men and women that was injured, that witnessed all this stuff, left the United States with a different opinion of their leadership than they had when they came back, if they came back. So it kind of goes with what I was saying. At the end of the day, you have to be able to think for yourself, not just sit there and take a few minutes to read the first paragraph, watch the first 15 minutes of a podcast and shut it off. All right. You need to get all the info for yourself and make your determination, because in today's world of technology, you can manipulate anything that you want to turn it and persuade it to look however you want. I firmly believe that you're never going to change everything, but you can change yourself today by taking that step and saying, you know what, I'm going to shut out the noise and I'm going to start thinking for myself. Right or wrong does not matter. Think about what it is that is going on. Make a decision. If you made the wrong decision, you are going to at least have made a mistake, which is a good thing. You will learn from that mistake. All right. Don't wait to get to the position to where you have hundreds of people that are counting on you. All right. And now I'm talking to the service members that are out there today. All right. Don't get to that point that the orders and the things that are coming above you and coming down are black and white. Think about what it is that you're being asked to do, because there is a regulation, and I guarantee you it's in the Marines. I don't state the Marines. I'm from the Army. But in the Army, you know, you do not have to follow orders that are not lawful orders. If your commander gives you an order, it has to be lawful. All right. They were literally told to ignore the fact that civilian women, children, and men were being put on their knees and executed in front of them, and they could not reply. They could not even put warning shots out, anything, smoke grenades, something. something to prevent it from happening. All right. And that is something that each one of them will have to live with for the rest of their life. Wondering, should I have? In this situation, I can promise you, there's 13 people over there that would have agreed that it is better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Had he took that shot, and I'm not blaming him. I don't even want people to think that. I am not blaming that man. It is not his fault. He literally went above and beyond trying to legally get the authorization to put a stop to it. And there wasn't nothing. But had he took that shot when he had it, we would have been talking about a different scenario. Now we would have been talking about his trial and whether or not he is going to jail and live with a pure conscience, or is he going to live the rest of his life out of jail with guilt? And that's where I say, evaluate what it is that you're being told. Come up with your own decision. Come up with your own answers. Take the time to do your own research if you need to. But let's get away from this watching 30-second media clips and then starting to judge others. All right? Because there's a lot more blame that happened in just this situation. And if you dig, you're going to find that there's a lot more situations that are like that. From his company commander up, the sergeant major that was in charge of that unit, and up. Hell, the first sergeant of that unit. Every one of them should be held accountable. Every single one of them. There is zero reason why we're not talking about the trials. Individuals. Absolutely no reason. And as Americans, if you really cared about your troops, that would be the stance that you took. To only say all of this happened because the president is incompetent, whether that is true or not on him being incompetent or competent, is irrelevant in this situation. There was multiple people on the ground that seen with their own eyes what was going on and could have taken action and did not. They chose their own careers and their own promotions to fall in line and not move forward with the right scenario. So what I'm getting at is, at the end of the day, you need to think for yourself. Hold yourself accountable. Think for yourself. Make your own decisions. And don't let somebody else do it for you. Because you can take this same scenario and compare it to your family. What decision do you make as the man of your household or the wife of the household? What decision do you make when somebody tries to kidnap your young and right out of the yard? Do you say, well, I don't know that if I legally have the right to shoot, should I shoot this person or should I just yell, stop, don't take my kid? Well, you should think about that as the way the military is as well. These are brothers and sisters that are closer than most blood relations. And they were handicapped because they left with a chain of command that they trusted, they trained with, We put all our faith in the local law enforcement, and we believe that, you know, if I report something, the right thing will be done. But at the end of the day, you need to think for yourself. Do you respond or do you stand back and watch? Because there's 13 people that died that day that would still be alive today had somebody just thought for themselves. So I don't want to, you know, like I said, man, my show is never like this. Very, very rarely. But there's things out there that just I'm very passionate about. Man, absolutely, Brian. Absolutely. You know, and that's what I'm getting at, man. You know, my show is more about highlighting veterans and bringing the positive out. And you know, I enjoy listening to the Sean Ryan show. I enjoy listening to the Joe Rogan show. You know, all for different reasons, and it's because it allows me to think. I get to hear somebody feed me something, and then I get to interpret it and decide for myself whether I think they're full of shit or not. I don't have a 24/7 agenda being shoved down my throat. You know, I don't listen to every single show on Sean Ryan. I don't listen to every single show on Joe Rogan, you know, but I do listen to the ones that I feel affect me and something I can relate to. So at the end of the day, man, I thank you guys for listening, for one, man. You know, it means the world to me. And everybody knows that this podcast was just literally started just out of trying to build camaraderie and reach out to veterans. And it's amazing how many new friends I've met, and how many relations that are out there that, you know, I can count on, I didn't have before. And podcasting has done that for me. And I thank you guys for listening, because all you listeners that listen to my show, you're also giving screen time to multiple 501c3s, multiple veterans. You're talking about artists out there that are trying to make careers and feed their families, and they're in a brutal industry just trying to make it. And so when you guys follow my show, you get pieces of their lives, you get pieces of mine, and pieces of everybody that comes on the show. So I thank you guys. I appreciate it so much. And, you know, I promise you next week, I won't have a rant. I'll have another guest on, and we'll get back to the guests and interviews, just like the show normally is, man. So I appreciate y'all listening, man. Thank you for tuning in. And let's go ahead and end it on a positive note and say, I love America, and I'm still think, without a doubt, this is the greatest country in the world. And we have the best military in the world.